What's up YouTube? My name's Quickie, welcome back to the channel. The carbs have got to come off again. I've got, on ASBO, we've basically got it running, but she ain't running happy because she's got a different exhaust and all sorts of stuff going on. I do have another air filter for it, so we're going with this high flow Filtro, high quality motorcycle air filters, so that'll be going on. But because we've got a different exhaust on it and like an open can and whatnot, I do need to change the jetting because it's running on 92s at the minute and that ain't good enough. We've also got some washers. Oh hello, the sun's coming out. Oh, that's nice. So we've also got some little washers coming from Spike because he's got a lathe and I ain't got one. Well, I was chatting with him and Phil. What we need to do is to up the jetting, because when you give it like full beans and stuff, 92s just ain't going to do it, ain't going to get enough fuel through it. I also need to raise the needles up in the carbs, so that's the bit that Spike's doing. So basically the way he's doing it is he's got some washers, which he's got as oversized, and he's going to shove a bolt through, machine them down on his lathe for me, so you know they fit in that little cap where the needle goes through. And then we can start raising it up a little bit. When I get here, what I'll probably do is, I've got an oil stone over there. I want to just make sure that they're all the same thickness. So if there's any burrs and that sort of stuff, that'll be took off. We'll measure them up, make sure they're all the same, and then stick them on. But we're only doing one thing at a time. Raising the needles is easier than changing the jets because the carbs don't have to come out to do that. But to do this bit, they do. And this needs doing anyway. And I've got the bits, so that's what I'm doing first. I'm taking the carbs off again. Right, let's get on with it. Right, I'm not going to show you me pulling the carbs off and changing the jet in and all that sort of stuff again because you've seen it already. There's no point, you'll just get bored stiff. However, what I will tell you is what comes after that. So, I've got the new jets to go in, as you know. That's going to help us sort of when you really get on it and give it the beans. Come on, there we go. And we've also got the washers coming from Spike. So that should help picking it up off the power. And then we should basically be there and sorted. So then we need to know how she runs and what power it makes and if there's any big holes in it and all that sort of stuff. So it needs to go on a dyno. So I went to, do I mention them? Because it wasn't very good. Okay, I went to my local dealer because I thought they was the only dyno in town. GT Motorcycles in Plymouth. And it wasn't good. Basically, I said to them, yeah, we've got a channel and this, that and the other. I've got this bike that I've been goofing about with. And basically I just need it setting up. So I need, you know, basically a power on to see what's what. Have a look and see if there's any holes in it. If I need to change the jet in or if it, you know, needs more air or more fuel, you know, whatever it is, just tell us what it is so I can go and have a go and we'll get her running in the ballpark. I'm not after making absolutely the best power I can make. I want it, you know, usable and reliable and all those other ibble sort of words. Oh yeah, we could set you up on a dyno. Yeah, that's not a problem. What have I got here? Oh, don't tell me you've got to come off. You have, haven't you? Oh no, I might get in there. So anyways, oh yeah, we could set you up on the dyno. That won't be a problem. That's easy. That's great. Well, I've got a YouTube channel. People are interested. Can I film it? No, you can't film it. We don't let people in there. Well, where's the dyno then? Well, it's not here. So in my head, I'm now thinking, well, have you actually got a dyno then? Or are you just like printing off some dyno chart that you've downloaded off the web and saying, oh yeah, it's really good, runs brilliant. So anyway, yeah, I wasn't very impressed with them. It's all very secretive. I'm sure they have got access to our dyno. I'm pretty sure it's not theirs. And I'm pretty sure it's not the sort of thing they want shown on YouTube. I get the sense. Anyway, I don't know, maybe the place that it's in is just a shithole. And it's like seriously dodgy looking, or, you know, it's not customer facing or whatever. I don't know. But it all just seemed a little bit too cloak and dagger. So anyway, Dan in the unit next door, he's got himself a Bandit 6 as well that he's been goofing around with. What am I doing? Oh yeah. So he's got a Bandit 6 and he took it to McPherson Motorcycles. Again in Plymouth, they're only just down the way actually. Right, he's coming up. And they've got a dyno and they're getting properly into tuning work. I mean, there's two lads there. I spoke with Matt on the phone. He rides S1000. The other fella down there who's like the fella who does, I don't know what his name is, but he's the one that actually does the work. He's got an H2 and they are doing all sorts of stuff on those bikes, like properly going after the power of it as well. And they certainly seem to know what they do. They do like reflashing and blah, 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 blah. Apparently this other fella that does all the work is Diamond at setting up carbs, but carbs isn't something they really want to get into. It's all injection stuff. However, they're more than happy to do power runs and point me in the right direction. So, I'm going to get all this lot done. I reckon we shouldn't be too far off with it. I don't think there's going to be that much more that needs doing. And then we're going to take it down there on Thursday, this Thursday, at 10 o'clock. We're going to get a power run done. See what it actually makes and get some numbers and graphs and all that sort of stuff so we can see what's happening. And if there's something they think should be changed or something that's not quite right or something that could be better, then they're happy to give us some techie help based on what they find. Yeah, they could do the work for me, but I don't really want that. I want to be the one that does the work. But it does mean we've got a local dyno, and the bloke sounded brilliant actually, right giggle. We had a right laugh on the phone. And they're up for getting filmed and all sorts of stuff as well. So I can take you with me. Oh, that's the other thing. My shitty little GoPro, there's not a GoPro. I can't find a mount to it or anything else. I was looking for mounts and that's just true. So I bought another one. I bought another action cam GoPro wannabe thing. And because it's got all the mounts with them, it just means I can stick two cameras on it and we can go out ooning. And I can take you with me then. So that's what we're doing. Thursday, 10 o'clock. We're having it. back together again. So we've got the bigger jets in the carbs. I've got one washer underneath the needles. Starts up on the bench, lovely. Ran fine, warmed it up, got it properly hot and up to temperature. So that was all good, not a funny. Then I went out for a hoon, and that's when things didn't go so well. So we've got this weird one in that, I'll say she works fine on the bench, not a problem. There's a main road that runs up and down outside the yard, and I thought, well, all right, go to one end, turn around, come back again, turn around, just keep doing that. Because if anything does go a bit Pete Tong, I ain't got far to push it. So we did that, and that was all good and peachy. For about, I don't know, 10 minutes. Was responsive off the throttle and everything. However, after 10 minutes, and bear in mind she'd been warmed up on the bench for 10 minutes before we even went out, so she was properly warm. All of a sudden, you're opening the throttle and it's stuttering, it's staggering, it's hesitant. It's almost like fuel starvation, or it's dropped a cylinder or something like that. To the point where it actually just died, which wasn't very good. So, did a bit of poking about, couldn't really find much, apart from when I opened this, there was a sudden inrush of air, or outrush, couldn't really tell you which one, but there was a rush of air in one direction. And I've been scratching my noggin on this one, so I punted a message out to the boys, and Craig came back saying, I wonder if the breather's blocked. So obviously as you're using fuel out the fuel tank, if the breather in this is blocked, it's going to cause a vacuum in here, and that's going to prevent more fuel going through. This is pretty crusty. It is crusty, so it's getting a clean up, and if there is any crap and stuff in there, I'll want to get rid of it, because this could be the problem. There is another wise man that once said 90% of carburetor issues are electrical. That was Andy. He's talking about it could be that once stuff gets hot, that coils are breaking down, or, you know, cables aren't, you know, there's a crack in a cable, it expands, it doesn't make contact anymore. And he said that could be to do with the coils, with the ignition pickups, with the ignition module itself, with anything. I'm hoping he's wrong, because this is an easy fix, and he's one in. So we're going to have a crack at this one first. Right, so in my head, this isn't a fuel starvation problem. I mean, that's what it feels like. That's what it's. You know, you're going along and then it starts coughing and spluttering, and it's just not. It's not having it basically. But I don't think it can be fuel starvation for a couple of reasons. When she does it, and you know, it does it down the road and stuff, and you push it a mile back and stick it on the bench in the workshop and fire it up again, she fires up. Alright, if it was fuel starvation, then that means there wouldn't be any fuel in the float bowls, and because the engine's not running and it's not on prime, there's no vacuum to draw the fuel through. So the fact that you leave it a bit and then it starts working, to me rules out fuel starvation. And like if you just crack that screw on the bottom of the float bowls, fuel does come out of it again, and there's been no vacuum drawn, so no extra fuel has been added to the system, so I don't think it's going to be that. So when we had problems with spark and everything else before, Steve-O very kindly sent me this set of coils. Turns out they're 23 years old. They came off that pup of a thing that he had. So what I'm thinking is I can run it up on the bench 10-15 minutes, get it lovely and warm, and it is properly cooking. This is an oil-cooled engine with no draft coming through it at all, generating loads of heat. You know, you put your hand underneath the tank at the front above the engine where the coils and stuff are, it is roasting. and there's a whole mess of wires and stuff down there, and I just think that's where we've got the troubles. Now, she runs okay on the bench, just on tick over, giving it a rev every once in a while, she's absolutely fine. But what I'm thinking is that when you throw a bit of vibration in the mix as well, bouncing it down the road and everything else, I think we've just got something that's breaking down with heat and vibration. And therefore we're losing, you know, either one or more cylinders, but that's what I think is happening. So I've got another set of coils, they've turned up, we're going to stick them on, give it a bash and see what's what. But I need to get this sorted because we're supposed to be headed for a dyno soon, and I want to know what's what. So that's what I'm doing, I'm changing the coils again for a new set, not an antique set. It was very kind of him to offer them. I would just have been happier if there was a new set, that's all. Right, so we're all hooked back up again. I've zip tied the cables up out the way because they were sort of drooping down. I don't want anything just sitting on top of the engine, that's gonna cook. So it's all back together again. Let's see if she fires up, hey? Look, my new bullet keyring. Kit's here, Craig Jones. He's made hundreds of these. Right. Well, she certainly seems happy. She's running well, actually. One thing I did notice was different. Literally one touch of the button fires straight up. Before, you had to kind of coax it and convince it to start a little bit. Well, I just thought that was, you know, the way they were. But now, one touch of the button, boom, she's off. So I think the new coils are definitely going to help. Well, I think they're helping already, actually. I think we're getting better spark than we ever did before. So, I've had her running on a bench now for 20 minutes. She is cooking. I'm like properly cooking. It gets so hot in here as well. There's no draft coming through it because obviously we're not riding it. But nothing's failed. But then again, it didn't before, did it? Right, I need to go out for a hoon, see what she's like. Right then. We are basically in. The new coils seem to have sorted the problem out. Being up and down the embankment road here for, what, an hour, I suppose. Literally just go up to the end, turn around, come back again, repeat as necessary for an hour. Before, give it 10 minutes on the road and that's it, stuff was going wrong. I've done it for an hour now and it's fine, it hasn't missed a beat. However, we do have a little bit of a problem down here. The clutch is knackered. I thought it would be. I've got another clutch on order. Reason being is that this bike has basically it hasn't turned a wheel in 4 years, and this is a wet clutch on here as well. So what happens is, like before you change the clutch, you have to soak all the plates and stuff in oil. I'll just do it overnight. But you know, they don't like drying out, they don't like not being used, and obviously that's what's going on. So we've got another clutch coming. When I was going up and down, it was all just, I wasn't giving it the beans because then it would start to slip. So it was all just like clutchless shifts, just, you know, so I don't have to use the clutch basically. But that's not what we was checking. We was checking, is it going to start farting and missing a beat and all that sort of stuff, and it didn't, so I'm happy with that. But a new clutch will sort it. That should be it, I'm hoping on Wednesday. And then we can get it dynoed, because the last thing I want is the clutch to be slipping on a dyno. So in the interim, whilst we're waiting on that, I want to try and sort this suspension out. I just want to know what on earth is going on, because at the minute it's like sitting on a space hopper on top of a mattress. It's horrible. There's no feedback or feeling as to anything that's going on. So I just want to see how they set it up. So front travel is 130mm, rear travel on the shock is 121mm. So 130 at the front, 121 at the back. And it is really soft, and I want to know quite how soft it is. So I've got my slacker, which is a very cool little gadget. You just need somewhere to stick it on. Oh, there we go, that'll do. That'll do. Right, so let's get this done. And all this is going to do is measure what the travel is on the suspension, basically. Really good little gadget, and you can do it yourself. So if we lift the front wheel off the floor, just on its side stand, zero it, and then we'll stick it back on its own wheels. That's saying 33. Bounce it down, comes back to 33. Lift it up, 33. Yeah, I'm calling that 33. That's 35 actually. Lift it up, 33, 38, 33, 30, I'm calling it 33. Right. So, static sag on the front is 33mm. Laden sag on the front, so this is where I sit on it, preferably with your feet on the pegs, but I can't quite do that, but we'll try and balance it. So that's 55. 51. 55. This is pretty much with a full tank of fuel as well. $55 again. Right. 55. which is very soft. Right, let's have a go on the rear. Right, so sticking this on the rear axle. Right, let's get the rear wheel off the floor. Zero that. $12mm. 12mm. 12mm. 7mm. 7mm. Right, we're going to call that 10mm of static sag. That's all good. Right, let's jump on. 44. 43, 44. Say 43. 43, 44. 44, okay, I'm calling that 44. 44mm. And that's with whatever preload is dialed into it. There is a preload adjuster and it looks like it is set on max at the moment. Max. Right, okay. It is a top toy this, it takes all the pain out of it. Right, so next thing is damping. I don't even know why I'm doing this because you can't even adjust it on the front. You get two sorts of damping. There's compression damping, which is it controls the rate at which the fork will compress, and then there's rebound damping, the speed with which it will actually bounce back. What you're looking for is with a damn good push down on the front brake on, you're looking for the suspension to compress in a controlled way and then come back up to wherever it's going to sit and basically stay there. It shouldn't bounce up and down, and it shouldn't come part way up and then creep the rest of it, if that makes sense. So front brake on, and we're going to give it a damn good shove down and see what it actually does. When you release it, you don't want to have any weight on the bars, you just want the spring and the oil in the forks to be doing all the work for you. That actually doesn't feel too bad, not at all. It went down in a nice controlled way, it didn't just drop, and when it came back up again, I think, it's hard to tell from here, I will have a look at the footage again, but I think it basically came back up to the top and stopped again. Oh, we got to bounce that time. Yeah, a little bit of a bounce. Right. Well, these forks have recently been rebuilt. They've got the weight oil that the factory specify and the amount in there. It should be pretty much cock on. It is a hot day though, and I have been riding it. So as you ride it, obviously the oil is going to go through the apertures in the fork tube and all that other kind of stuff, and it is going to warm up and generate some heat. They're not cold to touch, not by a long shot. And as you warm the oil up, obviously it gets a bit thinner, so you don't get as much damping. So we might have to do some work. I mean, we're soggy all over on this thing, it has to be said, but we could probably improve that. Let's have a look at the back. Right, so with the back of the bike, we're looking for the same sort of thing. We want it to compress in a controlled way and not just to bounce back again. It's got to come back up to its resting place and basically stop. No boinging about. And I think this is creeping back up, which is a bit odd because it's on max preload. It's going down, it's coming up, and then it's creeping up the rest of the way. Oh, right, make some notes. Right, so an eventful day then. These are junk. You can have these back. I was thankful to him for giving them to us because it did fix one problem that we had with it just not starting. It's just that they're not good enough to stay on the bike basically because they're breaking down. So they're rubbish. The suspension setups and stuff, well, I haven't even set it up, I've just measured stuff. And the reason why, she's turning into a bit of a test bed once we get all this finished. So, something worth noting, this is not a how-to. It's never going to be a how-to. Can't accuse me of teaching you anything. This is just what I'm doing and why I'm doing it and how I'm doing it, okay? For measuring the laden sag, I should have had all my bike gear on. Helmet, gloves, boots, jacket, leather, whatever. Because it's supposed to be the weight with which you're going to be riding the thing. That's how you're supposed to set it up. The only trouble is, it's a gorgeous sunny day and I'm not roasting my conkers off sitting in all my bike gear on top of that whilst it's not moving. But it gets us in the ballpark. If anything, these figures that I've got are conservative because I should have been heavier. And I am getting a little bit of puppy fat. Look, I need to get fit again. So anyway, as far as the road goes for suspension, ideally you want to be, you got to have a look in the manual and see what your suspension travel is. It's going to be different front to rear on an awful lot of bikes. It is on this one. The front on this is 130mm. This is a 96 Bandit 600. So it's 130mm of travel on the front forks and 121mm of travel on the rear shock. Okay? The rear shock is wound up to its maximum preload because I'm a bit chubby these days. And there's no adjustment you can make on the front, so it is what it is. But everything in it, you know, as far as the forks go, it's like standard springs, the 10 weight oil, which is what the manual says, and the proper amount of oil, an air gap. So that's set as stock, and we are soggy. So in the front, for the road, you want it to be about a third of its complete suspension travel when you're sitting on it in all your gear. We're a bit more than that. Should be between 32mm and 43mm ish. I'm at 55. It's puppy fat, that's all it is. In the rear, ideally it should be between 30 and 40mm, and I'm coming out at 44, and that's without all my bike gear on, so add a little bit more to that. And she is definitely soggy. It feels like you're sitting on a space hopper on top of a mattress. It's a lovely hot sunny day as well, so all the oil's warm, plus I've been riding up and down, so it's all warmed up and everything else, so the oil is going to be a little bit thinner and you're not going to have the same amount of damping as you would do in the middle of winter when you're riding it. But then again, your travel speeds and corner speeds and braking forces and that ain't going to be as much either. So we know it's soggy. There's a load of other stuff, like you want it for the road, you want the bike to basically be nice and level and compliant. On a track, if you're doing track days and stuff, when I was racing, we always put it a little bit biased towards the front, so the front would tip down a little bit. And we found that that just helps, well, helped me with sort of cornering and getting on the power and holding the line coming out the turns and stuff like that. But again, these sag numbers is just a ballpark sort of figure that means the suspension is working in its optimum range of movement, if that makes sense. Sag is a very personal thing. You can't take the settings off one bike ridden by bloke A and stick it on another bike ridden by bloke B and expect them both to be happy with it and turn in the same lap times. Don't happen that way. It's a personal thing and it's down to how you ride the bike. So don't just copy any of this stuff. Monkey about with it if you want, but don't just copy it thinking it's going to be spot on, because it ain't. It just did. More of that to follow. She is going to turn into a test bed and suspension is one of the things we're going to try. I read some stuff on forums about stick a whole stack of washers in top of your forks, that'll fix it. No, it won't. So, but we'll go through and we'll try some of this stuff. We'll measure it, we'll ride it, and we'll tell you what the differences are and whether it's worth even considering. Because some of them you think, you're doing what to your bike? Yeah. But anyway, don't listen to me, I'm not a mechanic. So there you go, so that's that. In other news, we have got a clutch coming, should be here on Wednesday. And once that's done, she's going on the dyno. Because she's running right. Why does a van always come past mid-chat? Anyway, in other news, clutch is going to be here on Wednesday, I'm hoping, so I can get the clutch swapped out. That's an easy job. I've got a new gasket coming for it as well, so we're in there. And then she's going on a dyno. And the guys there, they're well up for filming. I was chatting with Matt again the other day. We did have to delay the dyno run just to sort out this running issue. And I also thought the clutch was going to slip anyway, so it was just prudent. I don't want any slipping and I want it running as it should be, so we can get some proper figures out of this. And I'll get them to explain how a dyno works and the difference between corrected horsepower and actual horsepower and all this other stuff. We'll go through the graph and see what needs tweaking, if anything does, and just try and, you know, help fill a few blanks in, because there have been quite a few questions. The other stuff that's coming up is we're doing a 5,000 giveaway. So 5,000 subscribers and we're giving away a t-shirt basically. I know it's not much, but I haven't got much to give. That's happening at the end of the month. So if you want to be in with a shout of winning a t-shirt, there's a post on the Facebook page. Just stick a comment. I don't care what the comment is, but stick it on there. Either that or just drop a comment on the 5,000 giveaway video. You've all got YouTube, that's where you're finding out about this stuff. So stick a comment on there and I'll just add your name to the hat. And you never know, you might get a t-shirt. We'll announce it as soon as it's drawn. But that's it. That's it. It's always been a bit of an odd one. Do hope you're staying safe and enjoying the videos. I will keep them coming. Sorry this one's a little bit late, but you know, is what it is. And we'll see you again next time. Laters.